Hello and welcome back to another CM Travels video. The Nikon 24 to 200mm f4 to f6.3 is the topic today. But first, thank you so much to all of the current subscribers, and if you're new, hit that little red square down there. Greatly appreciated. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. Thank you so much. Let's cue the intro. So, having had the chance to use this beautiful, versatile, small, compact little lens, I thought I would give you my thoughts on it. Firstly, my biggest concern was what the f4 to f6.3 would give me in terms of separation and bokeh for the photographs. Second point, the price. It's not so cheap at around 900 US, plus minus a little bit less here in the US, a little bit less here in Switzerland. And of course as well, how fast and how well it works with the Z6, the camera that I'm currently using and used with this lens. And what better little subject than our wonderful Cocker Spaniel Katie, who moves around a lot, gives me the opportunity to follow her running. I also took more regular photographs of things like flowers and buildings, etc., to give you the widest range of photos that perhaps you might be using the lens for. First, a quick note on the build quality. If you've had or used any of the S-line lenses, you'll be very happy to know that it is equally high in quality. It's sturdy and strong. It is quite small and light. When you zoom, I'm zooming the other way again. When you zoom it out, it's still fairly small and compact within your hand and still quite light on the camera as well. The second focus ring is a lot smaller, as you can see. Quite nice, I find, and very, very sensitive and very smooth. Both the zoom and the focus rings are both very smooth. There's also a nifty little lock switch here, which of course stops the lens falling with time. We all know that these lenses with time, eventually, if you have them closed and you hold them like this for a long time, they sometimes can slowly but surely drop down. But as you can see right now, everything is working, but this is a brand new lens. And of course, locking it is much safer. Much safer that way. Kind of like that. And there's no display like we have on some of the other lenses in the S-line range, and it's really so simple and so easy, so light to throw in the bag. And what really was fantastic for me when I was using it is the versatility. Now that you heard that little ramble, let's swing into Lightroom and see what I can give you there. You can now see me in Lightroom. I have the first of the images that I would like to speak about. Very nice image of some flowers just before we're heading out for a walk. Here's lovely Katie and my lovely wife Claudia. So already you can see that the bokeh range here in the foreground. Here I'm shooting at 24mm at f4. At f4, of course, I'm expecting to have a nice bit of separation from the background, which I think is fairly nice here. Of course, in the middle here, really, really nice. Now, these are all JPEG files. They're not RAW files. So if anything, if you do shoot in RAW, you can get slightly better quality. But I also wanted to show you as well that I'm shooting directly into the sunlight here. And to my fairly, I'm impressed that there's not more flaring. I don't see any flaring here, and maybe slight flaring there, but I think that might just be a dust spot on the sensor. So let's check out our next image. This is a sequence, the first image of a sequence of Katie walking past me, and here's just a real test of the focus speed, which is a really important thing for me. So you can see she's walking through here, comes a little bit closer and even closer still, and manages really well to hold the focus here. Yes, her eyes technically are just out of focus and it's more around this area here, but I want to, you can see she's in a half walk slash run here, so this was taken fairly quickly. And for me, all of the other lenses that I've tested so far, this lens is not any slower in terms of its focus. It's just that the autofocus on these cameras can, yeah, it needs to be worked on a little bit better. I think all of you will agree, but it is still fantastic, and I was very happy with the results here with the sequence. Now here you can see, again, I was trying to take backlight photographs, give you the view of, give you the look and feel of the 24mm. And here you can see at f4, I'm not sure if it's just in this particular image, but there does seem to be a little bit of fringing, or what other folks would call, I suppose, chromatic aberration. But if you go in to develop this image and you head down here to lens correction, remove chromatic aberration, let's see what that does. Okay, so still a lot of fringing there. Just so that you are aware, you do get some of this fringing, and I think it's just particularly because I took it into the sun, and these very thin grass seeds, in essence, are just catching a bit of the afternoon sunlight. I really didn't get any other chromatic aberration, any of the other images that I took. But I wanted to be honest and give you my fair review, and this is one of the things that I did see while I was looking through the images. Here again is a sequence, and yeah, don't really look at the quality of the picture. I want you to see how well it follows the focus here. And for me, that's pretty good. That's as good as it's going to get from this sort of a lens. And I was very impressed. The autofocus is in animal focus mode, so it's very, very good. And it's followed KT. She's running very quickly now towards me at a jog, and I was impressed that it kept up. Now, of course, this image is a little bit underexposed, but if you go in and tweak it here and there, you can get a much better image. So these few images here were to really show you how the focus works, and I think that that's pretty good focus. Now here's another image again at the 24mm at f4, and it just quite lovely got this little bumblebee going towards the flower. Yeah, the front, I was actually trying to compose an image with, which you'll see in the next image that I took, to compose this front poppy with the back poppy. But in the moment this little bumblebee arrived, so I thought I'd quickly snap a picture. But again here, it's beautiful background, nice and clear blue, and very, very sharp, even with a little bumblebee flying around. Here is what I was trying to get on the previous image before the bumblebee shocked me and it arrived at the poppy. But yeah, this is quite little artisty, and it probably could do with some cropping, etc., etc. But I just want to show you this front foreground, and what lovely, lovely bokeh here, even at f6 here. This lovely smooth. I really enjoy this, and I think that I just think it's absolutely fantastic. Let's head on to the next one. Here I wanted to show you just a little bit of like a sun star effect. I did then post this photograph, change my f-stop to f11, but unfortunately didn't get me, and just took a photo directly into the sun, and it didn't get me nearly as nice an effect. So I had to persuade my lovely wife Claudia to stand quite, actually I think she was walking in this particular image, but just to get this lovely bit of sun rays and something that you perhaps like, and you can capture sun rays. You just have to be quite creative with it, but it is possible. Here is a lovely image of Katie. I've done small little edits to it. It was, yeah, I changed the metering mode and wanted you to really see what the metering mode is like here. And yeah, it's captured her really, really nicely. And it's yeah, I still I'm quite still very, very impressed. You might hear Katie barking in the background. She's obviously heard me talking about her on the computer, but I think it's absolutely fantastic and really, really good quality in terms of, yeah, the sharpness and the rest of it. And Katie's looking really, really good there. The important thing to remember here as well is that she is moving quite quickly towards me. And the fact that I was able to pull that focus and get it perfect was really, really good. Here again is just a little illustration of really how fast the focus can be. And it was just, I literally just swung my camera down to the side and snapped a quick picture of it because I could see her jumping from the side of the road here down towards me. And it's at 24 millimeters as well, and at f4, of course, as well. So yeah, you get some fairly good separation from the background. Remember, she's very close here. This background is not very far away, and of course that affects the amount of separation that you can have at f4, but it's not an f1.8 or an f2.8. Here again, just to show you what the backgrounds can look like even at f6.3, which for me was a big concern. Katie agrees. Which for me was a big concern, and I was really, really happy with the performance of the lens at f6.3. For me, really fantastic, and I can still recommend it. Here it is, the image right here in front of you. I done some small edits here. I mean, taken some blacks out, increased exposure by a stop, added a bit of color. Really, I haven't tried to hoodwink you into thinking that this is not the original image. But if we press Y here, there we go, then you can see yeah, I made it basically just increase the if I can get there eventually. I basically increased the exposure, and I think that it's absolutely lovely. Here again, some lovely pictures of these flowers that we bypassed on our routes basically while we were walking. And yeah, I wanted to again give you a bit of foreground. We're shooting at f6.3 and at 200 millimeters this time, so you can have a look at the bokeh in the background. I did do some editing here as well, so here you can see the original, and this is with a little bit of editing. Yeah, I just wanted to give you an example here of really what the images can be like, and I wanted to make the flowers pop out a bit more. There is still a lot of work that needs to be done. I can see here that the background looks pretty awful there, but if you look at the original one, it's straight off the camera and straight from the lens, and it is still very smooth in the background. Now, no editing, as you can see, it's all up here for you to see. This is straight out of the camera. And again, I'm shooting at f6.3 and at 200 millimeters. And look at this background. It is very, very smooth, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. Again here, if you do want to get these smoother backgrounds, really give as much distance between your subject, in this case the flower or the lavender flower, and the background as well, because we were walking in what is essentially kind of a forest, and it's not easy to get a clear background. Therefore, always try and get your subject as far away from that background as you possibly can, particularly in like forests and things like that. Now, this is a lot of work done, so here is the original, and you can see here on the left hand side that this seems to be giving a lot more light off, and it just distracts the eye and brings the eye in towards this area here. And here I've basically just made this side a bit lighter, increased the exposure, as you can see, and done a few little odds and ends here, which, yeah, you don't actually need to do, really. I mean, even if I bring these back down again, yeah, they small edits, and the whole point really of this image is to again see the background. What I mentioned before with the flower and the background, if we go one back, you can see that it does get this lovely smooth. But if you are shooting these kind of images with a subject before, you need to be very far away from things at the back. Don't worry too much about these little, I'm pretty sure that they are just dust spots on the sensor in the camera. So Yeah, but I think this is still a lovely, lovely image. She looks really good, lovely and sharp. I think I have added a bit of sharpening as well, just a bit. Let's see, detail, yeah. Okay, I've added 43 sharpening. If we take the sharpening down, boom, still absolutely lovely. Here I gave you a little bit of a landscape sort of effect. I try to get the leading lines with the orchard here and the trees that go down towards the lovely church here in the building. I did have taken a lot of the color out to make it more black and white theme, a bit more hazy, to just to create a bit of atmosphere. And if we click, well, there we go. So this is the original image. Yeah, there it is. I still think it's absolutely fantastic lens. And what's cool is that it's at that 75 at f6.3, and many landscape photographers will say that a 70 to 200 is very good for landscape photography. And if I could use it in both landscape and everyday use, it's such a small, light little lens, to throw it in the camera bag is just so easy and absolutely fantastic. So there you have it. I hope that gave you the information perhaps that you were looking for on this lovely 24 to 200 millimeter. I'm now going to give you my final thoughts on the lens, and the three main points that I wanted to cover in this video were, of course, the focus speed. You saw there a couple of the sequences which I shot of Katie running past me or running towards me. It worked pretty good. I would give it probably a 7 out of 10. There were other instances and other sequences that I have not showed you here which completely missed the focus indeed, and it was not 100% accurate all of the time, but it did work fairly well. And that might also be just a restriction with the Z6, not necessarily a restriction with the lens. So I thought it was very, very good, and I would be happy to recommend it to you. The second point, of course, was what that f6.3 looked like at the full focal length. That one image with which I'll pop up here just to remind you, with the lavender and the clear background, was at 200 millimeters and at f6.3. So you can get a lovely smooth background at the f6.3. You just have to be mindful of what's in the background. Of course, then the poppy picture I'll put up here, the foreground can also look lovely and bokeh and smooth, and can give you quite a lot of artistic license there. So again, a positive from my side. Is it an f2.8 or an f1.8? No, it's not, but still very, very good. I've had the lovely opportunity to use the 50mm f1.2. If you're interested in that, you can check that link or that video here. I've used almost every single one of the f1.8s. You can again check that link up here. But for what this lens is and the price, if I move on now to my third point, which is of course the price. I've even written them down, so let me have a quick look here. The price that I can get it right now in Switzerland is about 880 Swiss francs, roughly the same in terms of US dollar, if that's a currency that you prefer more, which is expensive, I think, personally. And I needed to make sure that if I'm going to invest in a lens like this, what kind of images am I going to be able to create? And for me, the best way to use this lens would be how I used it in this particular instance. Throw it in the bag, have it with you. It's easy, it's light, it's super versatile, and it is affordable when we look at the other lenses. If you dive into the primes, the 35 and 50, the 50mm f1.8 is really there, which I think is still a bargain of the century. It's such a sharp, beautiful lens at 500 US. That for me is probably one of the lenses that I highly, highly recommend. But the 24 to 70 f4, I'm not talking about the f2.8 here because they're much more expensive, but the f4 is about 710. That only gets you to 70 millimeters. And there's really nothing else in that range. The next 70 to 200 f2.8 is way more expensive. Under 2,500, about 2,400 US. So that's it's over doubled the price of this particular lens with this, which gets you to that 200mm reach. So right now it's kind of operating in its own space, and I think it's going to be a popular lens. And for me, I think I've ticked a lot of the boxes. So if I was going to invest in the lens, it needed to meet 3 criteria. Now, it's up really to you to go back and look at the images that I took and see what you think about what the lens can do. I'd love to hear your feedback as well. Please put it in the comments down below. And as always, hit the subscribe button, hit the like if you liked the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.